Hey guys, yet another finger here on YouTube. So today, as several comments have suggested, I'm doing a day in my life video where I take you on a small trip with me to show you how my daily life looks like. Along the way, I'll also share with you some specific things we do or have in Taiwan that might make it very different from some other countries. I'm only filming in the Taipei city, so things might be different in other areas in Taiwan. But I'm sure a lot of the things I share today can also apply to many other Taiwanese and all of Taiwan. So it is about 8:30 right now. I usually wake up at 8 o'clock. I work at home, so I don't really have to wake up as early as a lot of other people might have to. But the first thing that I always have to have when I wake up in the morning is to have a cup of warm water. So it's kind of those things that people in Taiwan would tell you, like warm water is good for your body, but over time it kind of becomes a habit for me, and now if I don't have it, I just feel really uncomfortable. Okay, so now that I have my warm water, I'm ready to go and start my day. So for my family, usually the day starts here. This is the altar table we have in the house for our ancestors. The main religion in Taiwan is mostly a mix of both Taoism and Buddhism, and so is my family religion. So here my father does this morning worship routine thingy. You're supposed to do this twice a day, so now my dad's in charge of it in the morning and my mom in the evening around 5 p.m. And every month on the first day and the 15th, my mom would also prepare fruits in the morning as a special occasion worship. I'm not particularly religious, but I still do it as a family tradition on special occasions. But please don't just assume that all Taiwanese families do this. It really depends on their religion and also whether their family tablet shrine is in their home or not. I'm only showing you here how my family does it, but it does not apply to everyone. So the next thing on the list, of course, breakfast, which is something very special in Taiwan, so let's go and check it out. So in Taiwan, we actually have breakfast stores every other corner. At least in Taipei, they're everywhere. Next to where I live, there are like 5 of them within 10 minutes of walk. They specifically sell Taiwanese-style breakfast and are certainly an essential part of Taiwanese people's life. So today, I'm eating the most iconic Taiwanese breakfast, which is called the Taiwanese egg roll, and a cup of Taiwanese milk tea, which tastes more or less the same as the milk tea in boba tea. The Taiwanese egg roll was invented in Taiwan. It was inspired by the recipe brought here by the Republic of China and adjusted to fit the Taiwanese taste. And although the one I'm having today has ham in it, it really comes with a variety of ingredients. So you can have cheese, tuna, bacon, hot dogs, so many other options. Nowadays, I usually try to eat healthy, so I just eat 2 eggs and multi-grain crackers or bread. But on cheat days, I would always go with the Taiwanese breakfast store because it's just so delicious. Other than the Taiwanese egg rolls, the modern Taiwanese breakfast shops also sell food from many different other countries, from hamburgers to sandwiches, from fries to chicken nuggets, from gyoza to turnip cake. So it's really like crazy. I haven't been to any other countries that have breakfast stores that are as cheap and convenient and accessible and provides as many variety as in Taiwan. Most places don't even have breakfast stores. The closest thing would be brunch store, I guess, but it's also very different because brunch store is mostly for when you are taking your times off work, when you have some extra time to relax in the morning, and the food is usually quite expensive. But in Taiwan, many people would stop by before they go to school or work every day and quickly order a breakfast to go. It usually takes only 5 to 10 minutes of wait for your order to be ready, and it's on average 50 to 100 new Taiwan dollar, about $3 per meal. So after breakfast, it's usually very close to 9:30. So I have my Japanese lessons twice a week, and it starts at 9:30. おはようございます。そんなわけで、家族は棚の中で掃除してみたら、ゴキブリの家が発見しました。怖かったです。And if I don't have Japanese class that morning, I'll be working. So this is my work settings. Right now I'm doing translation for this research project about one Aboriginal group in Taiwan, the Dao, which in my opinion is just really cool. I'm really learning a lot, not only about the culture that I would have otherwise never had a chance to learn about, but I'm also witnessing the process of a professional field research conducted by a university, which I feel like would be really helpful when I started my master degree. After that, it's usually around 11:30 where I would order lunch. I usually do deliveries nowadays because it's just super convenient, which will usually arrive between 12 to 12:30. But today I thought I'd show you some common places people have lunch in Taiwan before the rise of delivery. So get ready and let's go. In Taiwan, we have lots of restaurants serving lunch, so it's definitely popular to eat out with friends and coworkers or order takeout during lunch break. But to look for a faster, cheaper alternative, there's also food stands all over Taiwan. We call it lo mi da in Taiwanese. So they're not full-on restaurants, they're mostly without proper covers, but they usually can provide the most typical Taiwanese street food and traditional food since a lot of them are owned by really old vendors with decades of experience making these foods. So if you ever visit Taiwan, I'd say you definitely need to eat at one of those food stands at least once to experience the most local taste of food. Another pretty interesting thing is that a lot of local Taiwanese restaurants selling traditional food always like to put their seats outside their store. So you might have noticed that in Taipei, there's usually this pedestrian path in between the road and the shops where you can walk on. Ideally, it's reserved for pedestrians only, but it's almost always covered in motorbikes and these seats from the restaurants. And when you eat at these kind of places, you'd be eating right next to the traffics, which might not be the most ideal outdoor eating experience, but it's very Taiwan, I would say. But for Taiwanese people, the most common lunch option I'd say is the Taiwanese bento box. We call it bentong in Taiwanese, which the pronunciation is very similar to Japanese. I actually looked it up and it seems like this word originated from the Song dynasty in China and later brought to Japan and developed into what would be known as bento nowadays, and was likely introduced into Taiwan during the colonization by Japan. So Taiwanese bentong usually includes white rice, a main meat dish such as chicken or pork chop, and several side dishes like vegetables. It is also typically eaten with a cup of soup and this drink called yangleduo in Taiwan, which comes in a set. It is also common for people to prepare and bring their own bentong lunchbox and heat it at schools or working places. A lot of the time, it will be leftovers from yesterday's dinner dishes. It's currently 12:49 and I'm back home with my lunch. Currently, I'm learning both Japanese and German at the same time, so during lunch, depending on which language I'm focusing on that day, I watch videos in that language. But I'm actually having some difficulties finding German videos to watch. I've already watched Dark and How to Sell Drugs Online Fast on Netflix, but I'm really hoping to find more sitcoms in German, something similar to the style of Friends and the IT Crowds. And from analytics, it does seem like a good portion of my views are coming from Germany, so if you guys know any fun German series to watch, please recommend me in a comment, it'd be greatly appreciated. After lunch is a habit in Taiwan to take a nap. In school, it is even mandatory, meaning you are not allowed to do anything other than sleeping. Also, we have military instructors in high schools, and they will literally go around the school looking for students who are not sleeping and punish them. I know it sounds super ridiculous, but I'm really not joking at all. As for companies, there's usually lunch break and you can pretty much do anything, whether it is eating or sleeping. And many people would also choose to take a nap in the office during this time out of habit. I also take a nap if I feel tired, but usually I don't really fall asleep. I just rest and browse with my phone in bed. So it is now a little bit over 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At some days of the week, I have students coming over and I give them tutor lessons, which is my other job. So at the moment, I do part-time translations and teaching instead of a full-time job, because when I first came back to Taiwan because of COVID, I really thought it was just going to be a few months. And to be fair, that's probably what we all thought. But anyway, I didn't really plan on doing anything too long-term. But then after a while, I also realized that there's still tons of things that I want to do before I pursue higher education and continue with full-time jobs. So for one thing, I decided that I really want to improve my language skills to a certain level that would help with my future career. So I continue learning German because I've been learning German on and off since university, and on top of that, I also started learning Japanese. And on top of everything, I also want to use this spare time that I have now to start regularly making videos on YouTube, because it feels like this would be my last chance where I would have so much time to focus on YouTube and actually go somewhere. And recently, because of you guys, I really feel like I'm living the dream every moment that I'm making videos. So I really appreciate you for keep tuning in and watching my videos. This is truly the best thing that has happened to me since pandemic. But anyway, that's why I'm either studying or working or filming and editing most times of the day. The schedule really depends on each day and my plan for the week. So as you can see, right now I'm editing the videos I just filmed this morning. And on other days, I might also be studying Japanese or German. Right now, I'm reading this book, which, not gonna lie, is a bit challenging for me. As you can see, when there's a page full of dialogues, I can at least understand 80% to 90%. But unfortunately, if it's pages and pages of detailed descriptions without any dialogues, it gets very difficult for me to understand. But I do try to write down words or sentences that looks important and hope that it will help with my future reading. So it is about 3:45. I sometimes go out if I need to buy anything or just go for a walk around this time of the day. So today I'd also like to take you with me and see how it feels like to go around the Taipei city. The best way to go around the Taipei city, I would say, is by the MRT, which is a rather modern metro system that covers the most part of Taipei and New Taipei City, compared to the metro system of several other cities where it's developed over 100 years ago. The MRT in Taipei is really new and clean, and super cheap. As you can see from this price chart, even the most expensive one for longer journey is 65 new Taiwan dollars, which is only about $2 to $3 per trip. But as a citizen here, we mostly just use this travel card to use the public transportations like most cities. I've once heard from someone that Taipei is a good place for tourists because it's a city with the mix of old and new. So on the one hand, you have modern buildings like the Taipei 101 to visit, but on the other hand, you also have old streets you can go to have a feel of how things used to be in the old ages. But to me, this is perhaps also the case for local people, and it's even the general theme of the city. So as you can see here, we have a fancy looking new building over here. But just right across the street, you can see buildings that appear to be a lot older, which were definitely built at least decades ago. So it's just common to see old-looking buildings right next to very new buildings here. In a lot of cities I've been to, there's usually an old town area where all the old buildings are preserved and other areas with newer constructions. But in Taipei, old and new are just very well mixed together, which forms a rather unique view of the city. I can't exactly say if it's good or bad. I do know some people think it's ugly, but I personally think this is exactly what Taiwan or Taipei looks and feels like to me. So if I come back after being abroad for a while and I see this, it always makes me feel like I'm home. Another aspect I'd like to show you is that in a lot of Western cities, there are residence districts, entertainment districts, all separated. But in Taipei, mostly everything is mixed. So you can have this area that looks like a residence area with park and temples. But when you walk to the next streets, it's immediately a street full of shops and even banks. In most places, there will also be shops on the ground floor and apartments right upstairs, as you can see here. There's even a clinic where the upstairs are also for people to live inside. So usually when you walk past the stores, there will be stairs where you can get into the apartment upstairs. I just went back home. It is almost 5 o'clock. And I decided to do a small haul of what I just bought on this afternoon trip. So first of all, it is very common in Taiwan to have a cup of boba tea in the afternoon. So if you work in the office, sometimes the coworkers will buy drinks together as a group as well. So cheers! On this trip, I also went to a place with a lot of stores selling anime merch. Along the way, I accidentally walked into something that would give you a certified negative social credits. So here's the anime store where I often come and look for manga and merch. So I didn't really find anything that interests me in the translated books sections, but look what I found in the original Japanese books area. Urami Chiyo-ni-san. And I bought it! So I just finished watching its anime and is super obsessed with it right now. And I eventually decided to only buy this book. It's actually the 6th book instead of the first one because it comes with a drama CD. And I've actually never bought any drama CD before, not for any manga or anime. So I'm really excited to try it out. I might not be able to understand all of it, but I feel like it's going to be a really good listening practice as well. At 5 p.m., I try to work out at least 3 times a week if I have the time. And if I do work out that day, 6 o'clock would be the time when I take a shower. If not, I'll take a shower before bed. So this is probably another cultural difference. In a lot of Western countries, as far as I know, people take shower in the morning. But in Taiwan, it's a habit to take shower after a long day. I personally think it's because of the weather. It is extremely hot and humid most time of the year. Therefore, if you don't take a shower before bed, you'll be soaked in sweat and it's just super uncomfortable and stinky. And it stains the bed as well. That's why we do have to take a shower in the evening instead of in the morning. I usually have dinner at 7 o'clock, and I'd say from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. would be the standard time when Taiwanese people have dinner. You probably have already noticed, but it is very, very common to eat out in Taiwan, probably more common than a lot of other countries. From breakfast, lunch to dinner, and even midnight snacks. This is because restaurants and food stands in Taiwan are very cheap, some of them even cheaper than buying ingredients and cook by yourself. So there's really no wonder why modern Taiwanese people much prefer to go out and have dinner than cook. And in reality, less and less young people know how to cook nowadays. Most restaurants open through dinner time and close at 9 o'clock or so, which is why one cultural shock I experienced in Europe is the closing time of the restaurants, since most of them close at around 6 p.m. already. I was really surprised that they didn't open at least through dinner time. On the other hand, there are definitely households where the parents still cook. My mom happens to be one of those traditional housewives who is extremely good at cooking. Because her dad, my grandfather, used to be a professional chef. She usually cooks 5 days in a week, and they are just some of the most typical Taiwanese home cooking, with 4 to 5 dishes, a pot of soup, and rice. If I'm not going out in the evening, after dinner I continue the work or study if I have to. If I need to do my laundry, it also be around this time. But sometimes when I feel like relaxing a little bit, I watch anime in bed, which is my most recent favorite thing to do. I'm currently rewatching all Haikyuu seasons. After that, around 10 o'clock is usually the time I reply to all comments I got that day on YouTube. It usually takes around 30 minutes to an hour. Then I start preparing to go to bed. So before bed, I always do this leg stretch while reading comics on Webtoon. And at about 11:30 to 12 o'clock, I go to bed. So that was basically the day in my life. I really hope you enjoyed the video and that the video has given you some better understanding of a few things here and there about life in Taiwan. Please like and subscribe if you like it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.